Today's story is Theseus and the Minotaur. And just like many of our other myths we've been reading about, they all take place in Greece. This is a modern-day map of Greece, but you can see there's Greece, and then down here is the large island of Crete. So the vocabulary words that go along with this story, the first one is convinced. That's a noun. Brought someone to a certain opinion or persuaded. So an example is, we talked, my mom convinced me that it was better to do my homework before going outside to play. Labyrinth is a noun. It's a maze of interconnecting paths bordered by high hedges or bushes. Example, the competitors raced to be the first to reach the prize at the center of the labyrinth, but they were easily confused by the tall bushes around them. Sneered, that's a verb. Laughed at with a slight raising of one corner of the lip to show disrespect or dislike. An example, the thief sneered rudely when the police questioned him. Unraveling, this is a verb. Separating or disentangling threads, unwinding. Example, a loose thread from Kim's scarf got caught on the doorknob, and before she knew it, the whole thing was quickly unraveling. Vaulted, this is a verb. Jumped over something while using the hands to push off. Example, Brooke vaulted over the fence as she chased her runaway puppy. So today we're going to use our illustrations from our lesson on Arachne the Weaver, and we'll be coming up to the front of the class in order and spinning the story. So we'll be retelling or acting out your part of the myth. We'll stop to do that now. So we've now heard 3 Greek myths: Prometheus and Pandora, Demeter and Persephone, and Arachne the Weaver. So I've typed these out, and I asked, which myth did you like best? So Prometheus and Pandora, the main idea there was that the myth told us how humans and animals were created, how humans got fire, and how evil and sorrow came into the world. So that story told us what the ancient Greeks believed about these things. Demeter and Persephone, the ancient Greeks believed this told about the changing of the seasons and the life cycle of plants. Arachne the Weaver, the ancient Greeks believed that this was how the very first spider was created. So remember, not all Greek myths involve supernatural gods and goddesses. Some of the myths feature humans, heroes, and mythical creatures. So this is Cerberus. And which myth that you already heard featured this mythical creature? It was in Demeter and Persephone. So, I already told you this, but who is this mythical creature? This is Cerberus, the 3-headed dog, and he lived in the underworld with Hades. Right now we're going to pause to take care of our Meet the Characters sheet. We'll fill that out together. Prince Theseus is one of the main characters in this myth that we'll be reading today about Theseus and the Minotaur. The story begins with Theseus sailing to Athens to see his father, King Aegeus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Princess Ariadne and Daedalus both play important roles in this story. I want you to look at the image, and what do you notice that you think might be important? Today's read aloud does not have any Greek gods or goddesses in it, but it does involve a mythical creature as well as a courageous person who does good deeds. I want you to listen carefully to find out what the creature looks like and who the hero is. Prince Theseus was the son of the ruler of Athens, King Aegeus. What do you remember about Athens? This story takes place before Athens was a democracy, when it was still ruled by a king. Theseus had been raised by his mother in a town far away from Athens and did not know his father in his youth or when he was a child. When he was old enough, in order to meet his father, Theseus journeyed to Athens, had many adventures, and proved himself a fierce warrior. And remember, fierce means brave. When he finally reached Athens, he was shocked to hear what his father, King Aegeus, was telling him. Next week, King Minos and his ship returned to Athens after another 9 years. King Aegeus said, "This will be the most terrible time for our people when they see those black sails." "Black sails? Who is this King Minos? And what happens when his ship comes to Athens?" asked Prince Theseus. His father answered, "King Minos, who rules the great island of Crete, has the mightiest navy and army on earth." So remember the map. I'll go back here. And here's the map with the island. I can scroll in a little bit. There's the island of Crete down here off of Greece. Several years ago, his son was visiting here in Athens. There was a terrible accident, and the young man never returned to Crete. I sent word to Crete explaining what had happened and how sorry we were, but King Minos would not listen. He and his warriors attacked and conquered Athens. So why did King Minos attack Athens? Then Minos announced, "You Athenians must share my sorrow. My son was 18 when he went to Athens. Every 9 years I shall send to you a ship with black sails. The ship will take 7 of your Athenian men and 7 Athenian women, each my son's age, to Crete. There I shall send those Athenians into the labyrinth." "What is the labyrinth, father?" Theseus asked. Theseus said, "It is an enormous maze of twisting tunnels and rooms cut into the hillside near Minos' palace. Minos commissioned the master inventor Daedalus to design it." Commissioned means chose someone to do a specific job. This is a labyrinth. Once inside, a person becomes hopelessly lost. Worse yet, living in that maze is the Minotaur, a monster that is half bull and half man. Does the Minotaur sound like a supernatural creature to you? The Minotaur knows every inch of the maze and hunts down whomever enters there. Many times King Minos has sent his black-sailed ship to carry away 7 of our young men and women, and none of them ever gets out of the labyrinth. And now, next week, the black-sailed ship will return. So what happens every 9 years when the ship with black sails arrives in Athens? Theseus said, "Father, you know my skills as a warrior. I'm 18 years old. I will take the place of one of these youths, or young people, and stop the Minotaur before it can strike again." "No, my son, I will not let you risk your life," King Aegeus replied. "Father, how can I let this continue when I know I can stop it? I'm the person with the best chance against the beast." Finally, Theseus convinced or persuaded his father and told him that if he was successful, he and the other Athenians would return on King Minos' ship with white sails. A week later, the prince and the other young Athenians boarded King Minos' ship. When they reached the island of Crete, guards led them to King Minos' throne room in the palace. There Minos sneered, or smiled in a cruel, twisted way. "It is fitting that the son of the king of Athens should not return to his home, as my son did not return to his." Theseus answered, "It is more fitting that the son of the king of Athens should end this horrid business once and for all." Do you think Theseus will be successful? Standing at King Minos' side through all of this was his daughter, Princess Ariadne. The princess was amazed to see that Theseus was not afraid. She thought, "What an extraordinary man! I must save him, but how? Even I would not be safe from my father's fury or extreme anger if he found out." Princess Ariadne needed help, so she went to see the most brilliant man she knew, the man who also happened to be the creator of the labyrinth, Daedalus. So Daedalus created the maze where the Minotaur lives. The clever Daedalus told her, "It is impossible to sneak a weapon into the maze. The guards would find it and remove it, and eventually they would trace it back to you. However, if the reports of Theseus's bravery are true, he may still have a chance fighting the Minotaur. Then at least we can help him find his way back out of the labyrinth. Here is what you must do." What does Daedalus have in his hand? What do you think it is for? That night, Princess Ariadne went to Theseus's room in her father's palace. She told the young hero, "Wind this ball of string around yourself beneath your clothes so the guards will not see it. After you enter the labyrinth, tie one end of the thread to the handle of the gate and unwind the rest as you go through the maze. If you defeat the Minotaur, rewind the thread and it will lead you back by the same route to the gate. And if you succeed, you must take me with you to Athens, for if my father finds that I have helped you—" "Of course we will take you," Theseus said. "Thank you, Princess. What do you think will happen next?" The next day, after the guards closed the gates of the labyrinth behind the Athenians, Theseus told the others, "Wait here. I go to seek the Minotaur. If I fail, you are no worse off. If I succeed, we will all be able to return safely to Athens." Tying the thread to the door handle, unraveling it with each step, Theseus set off into the labyrinth. So the word unraveling means undoing or unwinding. What is Theseus unraveling? Within 5 minutes he was hopelessly lost. Still he went on, though he knew that the half-man, half-bull might be waiting around the next bend for him, or sneaking up from behind, ready to eat him. Finally, Theseus found himself at the entrance to the great central room of the labyrinth. Resting on the stone floor at the far end was the Minotaur. It had the huge muscled body of a man, but instead of a man's head, there was the head of a bull with long, sharp horns. Theseus broke off the golden thread and stepped forward. The Minotaur rose to its feet to face him. Then the Minotaur charged. Theseus waited as the huge beast rushed toward him. At the last moment, the young prince stepped to one side and vaulted over the monster's back. The word vaulted means jumped over, using the hands to push off. Confused at not having caught him on its horns, the Minotaur turned back and charged again. Again, Theseus avoided its horns, leaping to the other side this time. Over and over, Theseus escaped the deadly horns. Each time, Theseus was moving closer to the wall of the room. Finally, as Theseus leaped aside once more, the Minotaur, unable to stop, ran with an explosive shock into the wall. Staggering, it fell to its knees. Theseus leaped upon its back and seized the great horns. He wrestled the Minotaur to the ground and eventually defeated him. If Theseus defeated the Minotaur, who won? Hours later, the other Athenians saw their prince emerging wearily and triumphantly from the stone tunnels. Untying the thread that had led him back, he said quietly, "Let's go home." Opening the gate, which was never locked, for no one had ever returned, the Athenians stole out, or snuck out quietly. The day had passed, and the city was now shadowed with night. They moved down to the harbor and found Princess Ariadne waiting for them in the shadows by the docks. Then they all set sail for Athens, bearing the glad news. Thanks to Theseus, the danger from the Minotaur was finally over. Theseus, however, had forgotten to change the sails from black to white. Do you remember why he was supposed to change the sails? What do you think King Aegeus is going to think? When his father, King Aegeus, saw the black sails from his perch on the cliff, he fainted and fell forward into the sea. Why do you think he fell forward into the sea? To this day, the sea King Aegeus fell into is called the Aegean Sea. In the read aloud you heard, tying the thread to the door handle, unraveling it with each step, Theseus set off into the labyrinth. Say the word unraveling with me. Unraveling. If something is unraveling, it is separating or unwinding. The threads in the old worn blanket began unraveling after it was washed many, many times. Have you ever had some item that was unraveling? What's the word we've been talking about today? Unraveling.